Todd Gurley has seen an increase in his production and his opportunities in recent weeks. 28 touches against the Bears, 20 this past weekend against the Cardinals. And, you know, it's caused some to think that as we get closer to the end of the season and the Rams get closer to elimination, Chris, that the time has come to unleash Gurley and not worry about that knee. And Sean McVay, the coach of the LA Rams, was asked that specific question as to why we have seen in recent weeks an increase in opportunities for Todd Gurley. Here's what McVay had to say yesterday afternoon.
Me not being an idiot, I think he's felt good.
Were you trying to keep him fresh for later in the season in case there was a playoff run? Or?
No, it had nothing to do with that. It was really just you're just kind of working through the 2019 season, the best way to utilize all of our players and figuring out what our identity is. And I think we're still working through that, but didn't have anything to do with, we're just trying to win a game.
I screwed up the throw, as I often do. McVay's response was to the question of why have we seen more from Todd Gurley and what's the reason for it. And he said me not being an idiot. And look, here's the thing. We're not idiots, Chris. Of course this is load management of Todd Gurley. Of course that's why we haven't seen him as much. And it's almost like there's this unwritten rule among the Rams media and the Rams coaching staff to not talk about Todd Gurley's knee, because Todd Gurley is very sensitive about any discussion about his knee. Remember during training camp when he said, "Stop putting bad juju on my knee"?
Yeah, right.
We're going to pretend the knee's fine. That has nothing to do with any of it. We're just stupid. Okay, Todd, it's not because we're trying to protect you against another injury. We're just too dumb to recognize that we should be using the 2017 Offensive Player of the Year more extensively than we are. I mean, I don't buy it. Chris, I don't think you buy it either. I don't think anybody buys it.
No, definitely. There's issues with his knee. Listen, you can go back and watch the Cardinals game last week. He's limping towards the end of the game. He had 2 runs where he made cuts in the backfield and his leg gave out. And one of them, he fell down. The other one, he kind of hopped along and got a few more yards. I think the Rams were, of course, trying to do load management. Totally right, because they're just not sure how long he's going to last. But I think here that maybe recently or maybe last week they finally just said, "Listen, we got to play him and we got to run him, and we're just going to run him into the ground." I mean, we're paying him a lot of money, and they're just going to go with it. I mean, if he wants to play football, let's give him the ball and go. We can't worry about saving him for 2 years from now. And I think that's probably where they got to the point of last week, and they got to some other things that I feel like they've been maybe missing a little bit in their offense. As far as last week, a lot of screens, and the bootleg game came back all in force. And we talked about it a little yesterday, where it's a year where they got away from some of that at times and became pass happy and shotgun happy and all of that. So, there's a lot of things going on there with the Rams. But I think with Gurley, they just finally said, "The hell with it. Let's throw him out there and let's make him a workhorse and just see how the knee stands the test of time."
Yeah, I mean, look, they are paying this guy so much money, and you're right. At some point, you've just got to say, we're trying to chase a playoff berth in the NFC. We've kept this guy kind of on ice all year long, and now it's time to just throw him out there and see what he can do. And the knee either holds up or it doesn't. But, if it holds up and we don't go to the playoffs, who cares? They're doing everything they can to try to climb over the Vikings and get that number 6 seed. And it would be helpful if they had a Todd Gurley who wasn't having knee issues. But I fully expect them to keep using him.
Yep.
And I expect to see a lot of him on Sunday night against the Seahawks. And, maybe he makes a difference. Maybe he doesn't. The last time they played the Seahawks, they remember he ended up with a quad injury and he missed the next week's game.
Right.
But, look, I think I don't think he's going to be on the Rams next year. And that's another reason maybe to run him into the ground, because it's not like you're saving him for 2020. I think they're going to have another plan at tailback in 2020. This is a guy, and this is what happens sometimes with running backs.
Yes.
You burn very brightly early in your career.
Right.
And then for whatever reason, and this is the knee injury that dates back to the ACL tear that he suffered in Georgia in 2015, his final year there with the Bulldogs. At some point, the candle burns out, and it burns fast if you're a running back who is being used repeatedly and heavily like he was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, no, exactly right. And I mean, hey, we know why. I mean, the running back position is just a brutal position. You take hits from every angle, so many every game. But I think there is a good chance that he's not there. And the good thing is for a guy like Todd Gurley, at least he saw a second contract. He was a top 10 pick. He got to see a second contract. That's great. He's still talented. He's just not the superstar we saw a few years ago. And I don't think the Rams are dead yet either. I think the Rams can be a real pain in the butt for the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday night. I don't look at this game and go like, oh man, the Seahawks are going to run away with this. I don't. They
don't run away with any game.
No, exactly right.
That's the thing.
Right.
They're not going to blow anybody out.
No, they're not. So, again, you're talking about one Aaron Donald sack strip fumble or Jalen Ramsey getting a pick down in the red area, and all of a sudden you go, whoa, how did this happen? The Rams are up by 10 here with 7 minutes left to go. The Seahawks are rolling. There's no doubt about that. But the Rams, other than the Ravens game, we have never seen them really be dominated that way in the Sean McVay era. That was a rare thing. Now, the thing that scares me a little is something you and I have talked about and we both love, is the Seattle Seahawks, their run game can be a little bit bludgeoning like the Ravens. And they played these 6 offensive linemen, right? And I do worry that they're just going to steamroll the Rams defensive line in front 7. That's not really that big of a group in general, and that would scare me a little bit if I'm the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you know what? Something else occurred to me, because consider the LA market dynamics.
Yep.
The fact that both of those teams have a hard time filling their stadiums exclusively or predominantly with fans of those teams. The fans of the visiting team, even though they don't take over in the Coliseum the same way they take over where the Chargers play, this is the final Pete Carroll visit to the Coliseum ever, Chris. Think about that one. That adds a little something to it
definitely
for the Seahawks.
You're right.
Right?
Yeah, that's a special place for him.
And I think a lot of Seahawks fans are going to be in the building on Sunday night. I think a lot of Rams fans may have posted their tickets on StubHub or Ticketmaster or whatever the preferred secondary website is after the 45-6 loss to the Ravens. Like, screw it, I'm not going to that game against the Seahawks. I know what's coming, and so I'm curious how that is going to affect the atmosphere,
right,
the support for both teams.
Yep.
And whether or not the Rams feel like a stranger once again in their own building, and Pete Carroll may be right at home. But I agree with you. I don't think the Seahawks are going to blow anybody out, but they do continue to find ways to win games.
They rise to the challenge. That's right.
We'll be talking about that one a lot more tomorrow as well, getting you ready for Sunday night.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.